Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster Mai, good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Monday, 12th of June 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man and background to the news and sport and business and Sea Watch, travel updates and the newsmakers in person this evening. Manx childcare industry could be unsustainable. What to do with Ramsey's empty and dilapidated buildings. Former Chief Minister Howard Quayle's got a new job. Alan Shea hopes UK police will follow the Manx example. And 2023's history-making TT has come to a close.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster Mai, Christian Jones.
Faster Mai. It's feared the closure of the island's only private learning centre for early years practitioners, teaching assistants and workers in adult and social care is leaving a big gap in the sector. David Ashford, who's due to ask about the impact of I'll Learn's announcement in the House of Keys tomorrow, thinks child and healthcare could become unsustainable unless government takes action. Police have released CCTV images of 5 people as part of renewed appeals for information after a Peter Hickman TT banner was stolen. The banner was taken on the 10th of June from the Duke TT village next to the grandstand. And 2023 senior winner Peter Hickman has rounded off his latest campaign by paying a visit to an avid fan at the Isle of Man Hospice. Patient Graham Whittaker had wished to meet both Hickman and John McGuinness during the racing fortnight, with McGuinness making time to meet Mr Whittaker before the start of the races. In international news, Boris Johnson has accused Rishi Sunak of talking rubbish over a row about the former UK Prime Minister's resignation honours list. Mr Sunak says Mr Johnson had asked him to overrule the committee that vets nominees. SNP leader Humza Yousaf has confirmed he won't be suspending Nicola Sturgeon following her arrest yesterday. The former First Minister was questioned by police about the party's funding and finances. She's been released pending further inquiries. And Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has paid tribute to Silvio Berlusconi, who's died at the age of 86, calling him a great Italian. Berlusconi was the country's premier 3 times. Those are the Update News headlines. Next at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goramaya, thank you, Christian. From the Ronaldsway Met Office, there's no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is smooth or slight. The cargo vessel Arrow's just left. And the weather this evening, sunny with a light breeze, up to 24 Celsius earlier on today. It's not far off that now. A cloudy evening with a risk of showers overnight. We're down to 16 through the night. And for Tuesday, Jumert, early showers will clear to sunny spells. Some light breezes. Daylight maximum 26 Celsius tomorrow. Down to 16 through the night into Jacrane. Dry and sunny on Wednesday. Top temperature 22 Celsius. Tight on the way back in. High waters 10 to 8 tonight. Sunset 9 minutes before 10. Low tide 7 minutes after 2 a.m. Sunrise in the morning at 4:45. And the morning high water at 16 minutes past 8.
The Manx Glass and Glazing showroom is currently closed for TT and will reopen on Monday the 12th of June.
The Isle of Man's childcare industry could become unsustainable if government doesn't take steps to ensure adequate training is available on island. From Douglas North MHK, David Ashford, who'll be asking the Education Minister about the recent closure of I'll Learn at tomorrow's sitting of the House of Keys.
In early years provision, for instance, some of the different levels of courses they do, if they go, there was no other provision on Ireland. So I want to know if this is being taken seriously, because there is an impact across the whole of the public sector provision, not just education, but health as well. And one of the things we know is that people who are trained on Ireland and are locals are more likely to stay in these type of jobs than people we bring in who may stay a few years and then move on. We get much better retention from those who are trained locally. So I want to make sure that we're not going to end up with a huge gap in the market and potentially end up with actually additional costs where people are having to go to the UK and train, or even worse, people just aren't willing to do it and aren't entering these industries that are already under staffing pressures.
You've touched on it there, but we had a childcare company tell us after this announcement that it leaves a void on the island and it's a body blow to the government's childcare strategy. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, I've been speaking to some of the childcare providers and they are seriously concerned. The childcare strategy, and if we are going to get that implemented as a government, then we need these sort of things underpinning it. We need to have the learning experience. I've spoken already to individuals who are being affected by this already, who are concerned, who are wanting to do courses, who are wanting to actually enter the industry, that are now concerned that it's going to be made tougher for them to do so. And of course, like I say, if we're not getting the volume of people through, our already stretched healthcare industry and childcare industry could become unsustainable.
History-making TT 2023 came to a close at the weekend, and the final races of the fortnight once again saw the record books getting rewritten. Here's our sports editor, Rob Pritchard.
Having seen lap records tumble across TT 2023 so far, there was more promise in the air with 3 races taking place over the final 2 days of this year's event on Friday and Saturday. First up was a doubleheader on Friday, starting with the Superstock TT Race 2, where Peter Hickman produced something truly extraordinary by shattering his own outright TT lap records to clock a mesmerising 136.358 miles an hour on his quickest lap on his way to his second Superstock victory of 2023.
Honestly, there's so many people about at the minute. It's absolutely epic. Massive thank you to everyone. The team's done such a good job.
Following that was the Super Twin TT Race 2, which was started with a poignant moment as Angel Torres, brother of Raul Torres, who lost his life during the first Super Twin race this year, flagged off the starters to get the contest underway. It was a race filled with drama as Super Twin Race 1 winner Michael Dunlop retired on the first lap. Mike Brown then took a commanding lead before he himself also had to bow out a lap later. This opened the door for Hickman, who, having struggled in the class throughout qualifying, took advantage of the misfortune of his fellow competitors to take the win. In the same race, Frenchman Pierre-Yves Bihan took his first TT podium to finish second, whilst Josh Brooks also took his first top 3 place in third. Then Saturday saw the grand finale, the senior TT race. Fans and pundits alike were anticipating an epic showdown of Dunlop versus Hickman, and it was the latter who would take victory in the most coveted race of the fortnight to make it 3 wins in a row, ahead of an impressive Dean Harrison in second, with Dunlop having to settle for third.
Wow. Yeah, just amazing. I've said it already, but the team's been working so hard to try and get this bike right. To be one behind Mike Hailwood, oh my God, what a statement that is.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
Thanks to my good evening. It's 22 minutes before 6, live from Douglas in the Isle of Man. This is Manx Radio. A Ramsey commissioner says it's good that the issues with empty and dilapidated buildings are being discussed. Ewan McGuinness says the problem hasn't been pushed in Ramsey, but he's unsure whether a 20% increase in rates is the answer. He's been speaking to our local democracy reporter Emma Draper.
I don't think we've been specifically pushing for this, but it's really good to see this being discussed. Obviously, derelict and dilapidated properties are an issue in every town and village of the Isle of Man, and what to do about that, how to encourage those properties to be brought up to standards for the good of the Isle of Man is a good question. So whether 20% rate increase is the right answer, I don't know, but it's really good to see that being discussed, debated, and hopefully we can go forward with something that does actually make an impact on the sort of ruinous properties around the island.
Is it a problem in Ramsey, or is it something that's come to your attention in Ramsey?
I think Ramsey, like every town on the island, has a small number of properties that bring the area down due to their unoccupied state. The reasons why that is can be numerous. Often it's perhaps due to a lack of ability to invest from the landowners. So whether you will actually encourage people to improve their properties by increasing the rates is unsure, but it certainly would be better than allowing them currently to simply pay nothing at all and have less overheads for leaving their property in ruins.
A pro-UK campaign group's appointed an advisor who may be familiar to many listeners on Manx Radio. Former Chief Minister Howard Quayle joined Arlene Foster, the former First Minister of Northern Ireland, in the Together UK Foundation. The details from Lewis Foster.
The group will lobby decision makers, putting forward a positive case for the Union of the United United Kingdom. The Together UK Foundation was formed relatively recently in September 2022. A statement on its website says it's inclusive of all cultural and political backgrounds within the UK, with the aim to provide a unifying voice that is informed, independent and factually based. Whether it's in relation to financial stability and pension security, continued support for a thriving NHS, an education service that equitably supports our young people to academic or vocational success, or an environment that challenges climate change, we know we are stronger together, it says. Well, Howard Quayle's connection with Arlene Foster dates back a few years, it would seem. There was an overlap in both their times at the head of their country's parliament between 2016 and 2021. It was a relationship which caused some friction here on the island when Mrs. Foster resigned as leader of the Democratic Unionist Party in April 21. After plans to oust her gained momentum, Mr. Quayle called her a good friend and a strong and principled leader through difficult times. Well, wishes which were strongly criticised by the Manx Labour Party at the time, which described the comments as extremely disappointing and a bad political move due to Mrs. Foster and the DUP's stance on women's rights and gay marriage at the time. In becoming an advisor to the Together UK Foundation, Mr. Quayle joins Jersey's former Chief Minister John Lafondre, who also worked with Arlene Foster at the British and Irish Council. Sharing the news on social media, Foster said they'd got the band back together.
Sea-Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Mothership Ben McCree departed Heysham at 3:05. She'll be into Douglas at about 20 to 7 this evening. We'll be departing Douglas at 8:15, heading for Belfast, arriving at about 1:45 a.m, leaving Belfast at 2:15, back to Douglas at 7 tomorrow morning. High-speed craft Manannan left Liverpool at 2:20. She'll be looking down. She's actually on the link span early into Douglas. Manannan leaves Douglas at 6:30, arriving in Liverpool at 9:30, departing Liverpool at 10 o'clock. Quick turnaround back to Douglas for 1 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow morning's departures: 9:15 Ben McCree to Heysham, 10 o'clock Manannan to Liverpool.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
An outspoken Keys backbencher questioned as to whether the Council of Ministers has the will to take bold decisions. East Douglas MHK Joni Farragher was commenting on claims that the present administration has talked the talk but hasn't walked the walk.
Is it capable? Yes. But is the will there? And I think that's always underlying everything. And I personally feel like the structure of the Council of Ministers, in which meetings aren't minuted and decisions, huge decisions about climate targets and about whether we should have interim targets, are not made in an accountable manner. I think if actually every single one of those members had to account to the public for the fact that they for the way that they voted. So if they, for example, they wanted to go for the further away target or the weaker target, I think we might actually see some bigger steps forward. And so I think in some ways, yes, the structure of Tynwald actually potentially holds us back a little bit in terms of taking bolder strides forward, because the person who's Conservative with a little c, the person who feels a little bit more concerned and wants to have a bigger review, they'll be holding back the bolder members, and yet there'll be no accountability for that. So capable, yes. Is the will there at the moment? I'm not convinced.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6 in corporate news, Mike Ashley's Frasers Group has said it's taken an 18.9% stake in the online electrical retailer AO World for £75 million. The owner of Sports Direct, House of Fraser and Evans Cycles, says it bought 109.4 million shares at 68p each. AO World's based in Bolton and was founded in 2000 as Appliances Only by John Roberts, and is now the biggest seller of large domestic appliances in the UK. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookhall.com. Meatless Farm, the vegan food company, stopped trading and let 50 staff go after being unable to survive in the far from tender meat-free market. Meatless Farm made plant-based alternatives to meat and was stocked in major supermarkets, but made its workforce redundant last Friday. In 2021, at its peak, it sold £11 million worth of plant-based plant-based mince, burgers and chicken breasts. The company's website says it's currently unavailable, and insolvency firm Kroll's is advising the firm on its options. Meatless Farm was established in 2016 by the Danish entrepreneur Morten Toft Beck, who chose Leeds rather than London as its base.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Quayle.
UK and European markets closed slightly higher as investors prepared for a week of major central bank meetings in the US, Asia and Europe. US stocks opened Monday's trading session higher. Gold rose on a weaker dollar and oil fell ahead of the US Fed Reserve meeting. The numbers now from Ramsey Quayle. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 was up just over 0.1% at 7,570. The DAX in Frankfurt up nearly 0.9% at the close at 16,086. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial was up 0.1% at 33,911. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up almost 0.7% at 13,345. And a good day in Chicago, up 0.3%. The S&P 500 at 4,311. But the trading day continues on that side of the Atlantic. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 24.9 cents, €1 16.1 cents, and 23 South African rand 19.8 cents. In commodities, gold's down 0.2% at $1,956 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude down almost 3% at $72.75.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Quayle, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Quayle, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseyquayle.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
If you have a news story for Manx Radio to investigate and report, email newsroom@manxradio.com or call 682-631 any time of day or night.
The gay rights campaigner Alan Shea lent his voice to a new UK campaign. The Apologise Now campaign was launched at an event in the House of Lords committee rooms last week. Mr Shea says it hopes to see police chiefs across follow the lead of the former Manx Chief Constable Gary Roberts in apologising for the historic persecution of the LGBT community.
We are the first in the British Isles to receive an apology, and now the Metropolitan Police now have issued an apology. So, well, I always show the examples of what happened in the Isle of Man and the deaths in the late 80s and 90s of people that died in the Isle of Man, and explained how the police were out of control force, and explained that my home was raided by the police and that I became under the Amnesty International protection while I was campaigning because of all the threats. They asked me a few questions, which I told them. I showed them what I wore on Timble Day in 1991, and I also showed them the protest outfit that I also used in Pride 1991 as well. So, but at the end of the talk, I was given a huge warm greeting, clapping and so on from the audience there. Yeah, it's been us because it's East Midlands Police have refused to apologise. So hopefully with the Metropolitan Police now shown the example how easy it is to apologise, now maybe all forces in the United Kingdom regions will apologise for their extremely bad behaviour and how they raided bars, people's homes in the United Kingdom. And we've got to remember that the UK is a big place and there was a lot more deaths there. And you also got people don't realise is that the man who saved many people's lives in World War II, Alan Shea, also went through a hell of a lot of abuse from the police and ended up killing himself. So the apology is now going to happen, so let's hope it works.
Manx Radio Sport.
Faster my Rob Pritchard.
Faster my, good evening. The Special Olympics Isle of Man team has begun its journey today to take part in an international event in Europe from later this week. The Manx squad, which includes 18 athletes, is heading to Berlin for the 2023 World Summer Games, which will be held in the city from the 17th to the 25th of June. The Isle of Man will contest 7 different sports once there, competing in aquatics, athletics, badminton, bocce, bowling, cycling and gymnastics. The island athletes also took part in the the European Games in Malta in May last year. There they took 12 medals, 2 gold, 3 silver and 7 bronze. In cycling, a strong contingent of Manx cyclists will once again be involved in this year's British National Road Championships starting later this month. The list of riders involved has been announced ahead of the event, which will take place in Redcar and Cleveland from the 21st to the 25th of June and will involve the road race, circuit race and time trial competitions. Among the men's competitors are Matthew Bostock, Tom and Leon Mazzone, Max and Zach Walker, Sam Brand and Ireland residents Ben Swift and Chris Lawless. Meanwhile, Lizzie Holden and Jessie Carriage are the 2 female Ireland competitors taking part across the 4 days in both the road race and time trials. And in athletics, Manx athletes Rachel Franklin and Fortune Nzama have put in strong performances whilst taking part in respective international competitions at the weekend. Franklin travelled to Europe to compete in the B final at the Paris Fast 5000 on track over a 5,000 metre distance, finishing 4th in a time of 16 minutes and 58 seconds. Elsewhere, Nzama was involved on Sunday in the demanding Comrades Marathon, which was held in his home nation of South Africa. Out of 11,297 competitors overall, Nzama managed to finish in 252nd place after managing an impressive time of 6 hours, 50 minutes and 41 seconds across the approximate 55-mile route from Pietermaritzburg to Durban. With medals awarded based on timings, his run meant he earned himself a silver medal for completing the event between 6 hours and 7.5 hours, with Nzama's time also a new personal best over that distance.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Take a deep breath. We've got some delays at Ronalds Way. The 4:30 EasyJet from Bristol didn't arrive until 25 past 5. The 5 o'clock EasyJet from Liverpool won't be in until 6 o'clock tlinght. Then it's, the 5:25 Loganair from Manchester is delayed until 10 to 7 tonight. The 5:45 Aer Lingus from Dublin landed a little early. The 10 to 8 Loganair from London City is delayed. The 5 to 8 Loganair patient transfer return from Liverpool is delayed till 10 past 9 tonight. And fingers crossed, the 25 to 9 EasyJet from Gatwick currently showing on time. Outbound, the 4:30 Loganair to London City delayed until about 10 minutes ago. The 5 o'clock EasyJet to Bristol went just about now. Next outbound, the 5:30 EasyJet to Liverpool's delayed until 6:30. The 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool delayed till 20 past 7. Fingers crossed. The 6:15 Aer Lingus to Dublin's on time, and the 9:05 EasyJet back to Gatwick, fingers crossed, again on time. The mountain road's closed between, it's one way between Ramsey Hairpin and the Craig. It'll close tomorrow between 9:30 and 4:30. They're taking all the signage away, then it'll reopen and revert to two-way traffic when all that's finished. Cycling remains prohibited on the mountain road till tomorrow afternoon when it becomes two-way. The Ballymena road's closed in Derby. Phase closures for water main replacement. Temporary 24-hour lights on Cumberland Road, Ramsey for resurfacing. The Ballacollister road's closed in Laxer between Croydon Quill Road and Rensall Hill. East Quay in Peel still closed between the House of Manannan and the Road Bridge. And temporary 24-hour lights on the main road in Dalby currently.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre Club Card has over £400 worth of saving for your whole family. Get more with
The Steam Packet Company bookings are flowing in for next year's TT. Thousands of people travel to the island over the fortnight to witness the road racing. Here's Managing Director Brian Thompson.
What we are seeing is the number of motorcycles has reduced, but we're seeing an increase in cars and vans. So our theory is that more people are bringing their motorcycle in the back of a van, and that would sort of measure up for what we're seeing on the roads. There still is plenty of bikes around, but our numbers for bringing them over is slightly down. We're pleased with that because we did expect a cost of living crisis and other factors to affect that, but so far it's been quite a successful TT. We are seeing more last minute bookings because we've had some availability, and that may be a trend that you could attribute to the cost of living. People have maybe realised they've got more money than they thought they would, so they've spent it and come into their favourite motorsport event. And as I say, for next year it's looking very healthy. So the passenger numbers are pretty much the same as they were last year. As I said, there's a 1% difference. Motorcycles are down, but vans and cars are up, so I think they measure each other out. So really, I think between 2023 and 2022 there really isn't much difference for us. We are confident that there'll be a huge number of opportunities for visitors to come to the island as long as the accommodation's there for them. I think because most of the crew that are on the Manxman, they are feeding back to everyone. We're excited about the facilities on board, just this higher standard that passengers are going to experience when they get on board. So yeah, there's a huge excitement in the company, but of course we need to get her here, we need to get everyone trained, we need to make sure everything's safe, and then we need to get into operation and the public can enjoy her. You can track it on our social media. The captain's updates are there as well on the blog. So yeah, if people are interested, they can follow the programme.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
The Isle of Man's in a stronger position than the UK to support motorists with electric cars, says Daphne Kane, MHK. She says work is ongoing to do more those without an EV charging point at home. Here is the chair of the Climate Change Transformation Board.
It is slow to turn tankers around and to go to EVs and to get the necessary infrastructure in. But in some ways, we are much more geared up and aligned and coordinated than parts of the UK, particularly rural parts, where you look at, in conjunction with Manx Utilities, we have got as an island just over 1,000 electric vehicles now registered, and we've got well over 100, it was 113 a couple of months ago, electric chargers, public chargers. So we are keeping pace 1 to 10, so that those ones on the promenade, and working with the DOI to take off the time limit out of daytime hours, so that people who don't have off-road parking can consider taking on electric vehicles as a future mode of transport that would suit their lives. But there is also that aspect that some people don't use a car and don't want to use a car, and in the future, active travel, or if you're within a 2.5 mile radius, could you go by bike more, could you walk more, do you need to have a 2-car family for the future? And I think the younger generation is definitely open to the idea that we will live our lives differently in the future. And some of the frustration, and some of it's intergenerational fairness, the cost of doing something now and what's the cost of not doing it now, the escalated costs in the future, not only financial terms, but business terms, reputational terms for the Isle of Man. I think the Isle of Man has the opportunity to do something really special.
That's it for Update tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Christian Jones, producer Rhiann Evans. Stick around. Phil Gaughan's here with Agenda. After the news at 6, you got the greatest hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30. Time for Brass with Ian Cotcher at 9, and Dave Moore after hours.
WINT